¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome to the Wednesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Wednesday. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Derry Bennett. Heat, how's it going? Michael Hassler. Q Bennett, welcome, everybody. Yes, today is the Day of the Dead. We just watched The Book of Life. I've never seen that one before. Bernie was actually quite disappointing about Palestine. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of politicians who are, at least here in the United States, who are willing to try to call for any type of ceasefire and whatever. The situation's pretty bad. And the only thing that most politicians here in the U.S. seem to want to push is more unconditional money. Given the circumstances, I don't think that's necessary at this point in time. We can all agree that at the very least, the bare minimum that we can ask of our politicians, given the fact that we're like the biggest uh, backer of Israel, is to put some conditions behind the money and the funding that we give them, but we can't even seem to do that. So, yeah. Echo Resta Dragon, how's it going? And we'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment. Ali with the 12 biddies, thank you so much. I appreciate that. The Day of the Dead and Trans Awareness Month. Yes, I saw that in the Discord. All right, folks, we will get started here. I think we should start here. Unless the US gets, unless USA gets Bibi to step down, but the GOP can't dump Trump, so, well, no, this has nothing to do with this has nothing to do with Trump. And regardless, our priority should be to halt any aid until some very important ground rules are set. So yeah, I mean, I think that the U.S. has a responsibility. The U.S. does have a responsibility to say, hey, what are you doing? And it's very clear that maybe some of those conversations have been happening, but it seems like the Israeli government is not really caring, and that's a problem. The majority don't seem to want change. You mean like the majority of the U.S. government? Yeah, they don't seem to want to do anything about it. Yeah, it's not good. It's not great. This doesn't look good. It doesn't look good on Biden, and ultimately, what matters is using whatever political pressure that we have to get some freaking resolution on this humanitarian crisis, to put it mildly.
It's no secret that Marjorie Taylor Greene has her eyes on a higher office. It's been pretty clear that she is, of course, lobbying to become Donald Trump's vice president, even though those closest to him have pretty much let him know that he'd have to be stupid to pick her as his running mate next year. However, that does not mean that she is out of the running, so that's something to keep an eye on. She's also hinted recently that maybe she's going to run for governor of Georgia. Or maybe she's going to run for Senate in the state of Georgia. She also had
in my opinion, it is more likely that she will run for Senate than it is likely that she will run for governor. Okay, like that's just my opinion. I don't think that. I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong. She's gonna be speaker in 2045. I mean, like, is there really that much daylight between, like, Johnson, Mike, like, is there any, like, meaningful daylight, right? Is there any meaningful daylight between, like, Mike Johnson and any of these other, like, extremist Republicans? There's no such thing as like another MAGA. They're all MAGA. They're all Republic. They're just Republicans. That's the best way to like think about it. It's just like just stop making that distinction, because like they're all MAGA. The Republican Party is just MAGA. So just call them like the Republicans, because that's what they are. Nancy and Dree with the idea of being Trump's running mate, that's not going to happen, probably.
Previously hinted that maybe one day she'll run for president herself, right? And that was kind of laughable until this week, when she once again left the door open for a possible presidential run, depending on what happens.
I mean, I guess it's not out of the realm of possibility that we see Marjorie Taylor Greene try to run for president in 2028. I don't see her running now. But I mean, it's possible that she'll run for 2028. Willard, Mitt Romney is not MAGA. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he definitely is. They're all the same. Okay, all the Republicans are all the same. They'll all vote. Doesn't matter what they say. Doesn't matter if they don't agree or whatever. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they'll still support the party. Does that make sense? They'll still support the party. They'll still vote behind the party. If Donald Trump is president, in the next election, Mitt Romney is going to vote with his agenda the overwhelming majority of the time. Okay? Like, that's just the way it is. Ground Level News with the Tier 1 subscription. Thank you so much. You're at 3 months. Thank you. Welcome. So yeah, I'm sad to inform you that yes, it's just the Republican Party. There's no meaningful distinction. They're just MAGA. So there's no point in trying to make that differentiate whatever. There's no point in making the difference. Sorry, I can't find the exact word, but the point being is that yeah, there is just the Republican Party. It's just the Republican Party. I mean, you could even go as far as like Googling his you can even go as far as Googling his record, right? Will the last Republican turn out the lights? I think the idea that Trump has somehow changed the party is false. It's the same party it's been for years. Yeah, I can go with that. It's just the Republican Party. Yeah, I can go with that. Because like again, Trump just came in, not that long ago. Trump just provided like the perfect opportunity for all these people to just really kind of give us, show us who they really are. But yeah, this is, you're right. Liz Cheney voted completely with Trump because she's MAGA, but because she is like the rest of them a ghoul. Exactly. Yeah. Like it's just the Republican Party. I mean, like look at Mitt Romney's record, 78%, with Trump's position. So I don't understand. I mean, like the data is pretty clear. And I don't think there's any point in this in disputing that. I really don't think there's any point in disputing that. Is there really a non-MAGA wing of the Republican Party? I can answer that question. There isn't. There isn't. They overwhelmingly vote with his. I can just answer that question. There isn't. They overwhelmingly vote the same. Trump just gave them a perfect opportunity to be who they are. Yeah, like these people also, just to touch on like the Liz Cheney thing, these people that think that like all of a sudden Liz Cheney is like some kind of like never Trumper, not a MAGA Republican or whatever it is, she still voted in line with all his, with all his agenda, because that is the Republican agenda. The simulacra is correct. Anyways. There are definite cliques as seen in various speaker votes between Scalise and Jordan, but they have no policy differences. Yeah, I mean, like, if you've seen how, like, these people talk, there's no meaningful daylight between them, right? Like there's no meaningful, there's no meaningful daylight between, like, say, Mike Johnson and Marjorie Taylor Greene. If GOP dumps Trump, the GOP MAGA will actually have to work on policy. Not a chance. Not a chance. If Trump goes away tomorrow, if Trump goes away because he loses the election, do you think that these people will change? Do you think that these people will all of a sudden magically change? No. Mike Johnson is he's a Republican. That's my point. And they elected him speaker unanimously. What does that tell you about the entirety of the party? Do you see where their priorities lie? That they literally supported him unanimously. So what does that tell you about the party? There is no point in trying to make a difference, differentiate. Sorry, that's the word. There is no point in differentiating because it's just the Republican Party. There is no magic. Actual work is required. Yeah, but these people aren't going to change. These people are not going to change. Like, you have to remember, a good part of these people were there before Trump. A good chunk of these people were there before Trump. Sharpie Diesel, welcome. They've been given permission to be mean. There's no way they're going back. I doubt it. Even if Trump disappears tomorrow. I don't think that there's anything that could really change the Republican Party. Because this is the Republican Party. And there's no point or benefit to even give them that benefit of the doubt, because they haven't shown any inkling that that's even going to be remotely a possibility. So I don't even know why we would even be talking about this. Is my point. Anyways. Thank you for the 12 biddies. I appreciate that. I'm not trying to hold the stream. No, I get it. No worries.
She says. Here's what she said. According to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Marjorie Taylor Greene, when asked about running for the presidency in the future, said, quote, "Maybe. We'll see what happens. I certainly love my country, and I'll do everything I can to protect it." That's not a no. It's really not even a maybe. Even though she literally said maybe, I get that. But she says, we'll see what happens. Now, of course, we'll see what happens is referring to what happens in the 2024 presidential election. If she is picked as Donald Trump's running mate,
doubt,
and somehow they manage to win the White House, she would be vice president, Trump would be term limited, so I think 100% in that instance, Marjorie Taylor Greene runs for president. If, say, President Biden wins re-election in 2024, but MAGA is not defeated in the House and Senate, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene runs in 2028. If Biden wins the White House, MAGA is defeated in the House and Senate, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene slinks away with her tail between her legs, tries to rebrand herself as more of a conventional conservative, and then probably holds off on a presidential run a little bit longer.
I mean, there's no going back. Like, I don't understand. Like, why is it like there's no point in trying to make a distinction here? So I don't know why Farron is saying that. Okay, anyways, and Trump still has not chosen a VP. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'd be very surprised, honestly. But hey, I've been wrong before.
But those, I think, are three very real possibilities. Now, I think the least likely out of all of them, of course, is her being picked as Donald Trump's running mate. But let's assume for a second that this particular scenario happens. Let's say that Greene is not picked to be Donald Trump's running mate. And let's say that in this same scenario, Donald Trump miraculously gets convicted in all of the criminal trials and ends up having to serve time. If that happens, then what happens in the House and Senate races, I don't think that even comes into play anymore. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene emerges as the new leader of the MAGA movement, possibly alongside Matt Gaetz, even though they're, bad blood between them at the moment. They'll heal the rift to come together to save the MAGA movement, to save our savior, Donald Trump, who's
Come
locked away.
together. We have to save our country. Left-wing pundits should not give credence to anyone on the right. Agreed. I'd love to see that she will fail. Yeah, if Marjorie Taylor Greene gets the VP, that's not. I don't know. My money is still on Kristi Noem. I told you, speaker. Okay, so you think that she's going to end up as speaker. The Dems should be messaging more about how the right is taking away our freedoms every day, but they're just not. No, the Dems are nowhere to be found. When it comes to that kind of stuff, the Dems are nowhere to be found.
And then I think they form a ticket to run for president together in 2028. Now, those are all horrific ideas, right? Except for, of course, the one where Biden wins re-election, MAGA gets defeated in the House and Senate, and maybe the country starts to look a little bit more normal. But these are things we have to take seriously. Marjorie Taylor Greene continuously teasing that maybe she's going to run for president in the future. It's no longer something we can just laugh at and say, ha, good luck with that. No. We've seen crazier and stupider things happen in this country. We've seen stupider things happen in this country in the last year, folks. I mean, hell, look at the current polling right now. I don't think Biden's done a bad job, but he's got a 37% approval rating, statistically tied with a guy who's facing 91 felony counts. Weird things are happening in politics. And because of that, I don't think we can rule out Marjorie Taylor Greene running for president. And to add on top of that, I don't think we can rule out her winning the presidency in the future.
Well, hold on. Okay. No, I don't know about that one. I guess it's plausible. I mean, like, it's plausible, but possible? I don't know. I'm gonna disagree with that. I'm gonna disagree with that. Like, Trump has it, but I don't think so. The fear and projection is hilarious. On who? Question mark? What fear and what projection? Are you okay? 2045, he's right. Farron? Fear of a black hat? I don't know. I don't think she has a shot. I'll be honest.
That's a horrifying thought to have.
It is. It is very horrifying, the fact that a Marjorie Taylor Greene presidency would be disastrous. Like that would be even worse. Okay, the level of incompetence would be that's hard pass on that one. The Marjorie Taylor Greene winning part Yeah, I don't think she can win. If she ends up throwing her hat in the ring in 2028, I don't even know if she can get out of a primary. But I guess we shall see. Stranger things have happened. That's true.
I was still trying to absorb who this person was in this rehab center bed. This man with a doctorate in physics who could no longer tell time. And here is this woman telling me they're going to end his coverage in 2 weeks.
This is Gloria Bent, married to Gary Bent for 56 years. After emergency brain surgery, Gary's doctors had a recovery plan. The plan never happened. This is about why. This is a story about good intentions, predatory corporations, and an unaccountable bureaucracy. This is a story about Medicare Advantage.
It is neither Medicare nor is it an advantage. It is, I think, will be recognized in years to come as probably
What? The privatized section of Medicare is horrible? No way. Tell me more. Marjorie Taylor Greene like Trump even worse with her temper. Yeah, but that's not even that. I mean, her policies, her politics are bad.
the biggest heist, the biggest fraud, the biggest transfer of wealth from taxpayers, middle income, low income Americans, from them to corporate executives.
For the first time in Medicare's history, over half of seniors now receive health insurance through private Advantage plans. Despite the name, Medicare Advantage isn't Medicare. It's for-profit health insurance with a great name. This
Yeah.
means, without much of a debate, we've privatized one of the country's most popular social programs.
Let's take a step back to quickly explain how this happened.
After 20 years of fights, in 1965, LBJ signed Medicare into law. It's imperfect. There are real gaps around deductibles, out-of-pocket limits, and dental coverage. It also costs a lot. Medicare is one of the biggest items in the federal budget. So to save on costs, people started to look at how Medicare functions.
In 2003, the Bush administration created a bunch of subsidies and incentives for private insurance companies to compete with Medicare.
They called it Medicare Part C, or Medicare Advantage, even though it wasn't really Medicare.
It's functionally private insurance.
Advantage plans tout lower monthly premiums,
medical and prescription drug coverage for as low as a $0 monthly premium.
cover services traditional Medicare doesn't,
Many offer prescription drug coverage.
offer
Which is wild. It's the same conversation we keep having because we still live in a mostly for-profit wealthcare system. It just doesn't work. Insurance these days feels more like gambling. Yeah.
perks.
You can take advantage of a free gym membership.
Big insurers have now become some of the most profitable companies in America. One company decided to focus only on Advantage. Profit jumped 30%. By law, these plans are required to cover everything traditional Medicare covers, but that's not what's happening.
Instead, the government created a big pool of money,
Sitting there for the taking.
and the bureaucracy health insurers built to take it has real human consequences.
He was an incredible dad. He was so many things to so many people. On Memorial Day of 2022, he woke up and he couldn't remember how to do things like tie his shoes or make eggs. They discovered that melanoma had returned.
He had a surgery to remove the lesion and to take care of the blood clot that had developed in his brain. He was not the person I knew when he came out of surgery. The physical therapist who was seeing him post-op, as well as his neurosurgeon, recommended that he go to a highly skilled rehab facility. We felt fortunate that one of the best in the state of Connecticut had a bed for him and agreed to take him.
His transfer to a specialty rehab hospital was denied.
I just couldn't understand why my dad's neurosurgeon says he needs this care. The specialty hospital says we have a bed for him and we think we can help him, but somewhere along the lines, insurance just steps in and says, no, we don't think this is necessary.
Gary Bent did not have traditional Medicare.
Yeah, so like at like can we just like take that in for a second? Their insurance company stepped in and said like, nah, I don't think I think you're good, man. Wealthcare making sure the rich stay rich. That's right. Because it's definitely not about healthcare. If it was actually about healthcare, this guy would have gotten the treatment that his doctors told him that he needed or advised that he should get, because it would make the best outcomes. It would provide the best outcomes for the patient. If it was truly about healthcare, there wouldn't be any conversations past the point of like, hey, I think he needs this and I think this will provide the best outcomes, and then it gets done and that's the end of it. Like, that would be the end of the conversation.
He didn't have a choice. He was an educator, a Connecticut state retiree. Budget cuts pushed all state retirees from Medicare to private Medicare Advantage plans.
Skilled nursing facility coverage is almost always covered in traditional Medicare.
Christine's job is to help Wisconsin seniors navigate the various federal benefits they're entitled to. She deals with Medicare and Advantage issues every day. There are a lot of differences between Medicare and Medicare Advantage. We won't go into them all.
But the relevant ones for Gary's story are managed care and prior authorization. Advantage is what the health insurance industry calls managed care. Medicare doesn't pay for services. Instead, it pays a flat fee per patient. With no financial incentive to push medical procedures, providers can take a more holistic and cheaper approach towards health. That's the idea. But it falls apart in practice with private insurance companies as a result of a process called prior authorization. Here, doctors need insurance companies' approval before they prescribe care.
The industry says it's a way to cut down on unnecessary medical expenses. This doesn't really exist in traditional medicine.
Yeah, so this goes back to the same video that we were talking about earlier. My dad's health was failing, then he had a stroke, then he had unalived himself on 9/11. I'm sorry to hear that. That's horrifying. That's rough. That's why people are paying out of pocket or going outside the U.S. for cheaper bills, right? And none of that should be a thing. Like, that shouldn't be a choice that people are being forced to have to make. Like, that's not okay. I've definitely had dental and eye exams in Mexico, right? Because it's affordable in comparison to here. It's cheaper in Southeast Asia too.
Medicare, but it does with Advantage.
Insurers can use prior authorization to set treatment plans and override a patient's doctor.
Which is wild. Under no normal plan should a company be like, nah, I don't think like what your doctor says is important or it is necessary, so I guess we're just not going to let you get the treatment that your doctor has prescribed to you. That's wild. It makes no sense, right? It only makes sense in the context of, like, remember, this isn't about healthcare. This is about generating profits. That's the only way this makes sense. That's the only context in which this makes sense. Because under no other circumstance, would you think that this is rational? Like, why is my healthcare that my doctor told me that I need whatever, whether it be, medicine or treatment, whatever, physical therapy, it doesn't matter. If my doctor is telling me that I need this, why is my insurance company saying like, nah, I don't think you do? Bro, really? It cuts down on medical expenses because medical insurance management stinks. Yeah, but that's not even true, really. Because like if you deny a prior authorization for something that a patient really needs, and it ends up being dire, like remember the other video we saw where instead of having like the procedure that they needed, instead like now this person needed a whole limb amputated, which is hospital surgery, board, room and board. Like it doesn't make sense. That argument doesn't make sense from the insurance company perspective. maybe in the sense that they can gamble and say like, well, if we keep doing this long enough, somebody's gonna have like a major incident, and like all the times that we've denied all these prior authorizations, like we'll make up for it. That's the only way I could make it make sense. Mouselander, how's it going? Exactly, it's to unironically and literally bleed the people dry. That's right.
Despite the doctor's recommendations,
Gary was transferred to a short-term rehab facility.
The team there were all going to assess him and then come up with a care plan. And before that could even be finished, my mom received a call from an organization that we had never heard of called Navi Health, telling us that my dad's projected discharge date was going to be in 2 weeks.
I pointed out that he was still being evaluated by the Seabury staff, and that in my initial conversation, I had been told to expect him to be there at least 2 months.
Think about that. The denial came before Gary was even evaluated by his care team.
And the Navi Health representative's reaction was to laugh and say, oh, those physical therapists think they can cure everybody.
Navi Health is a post-acute healthcare service provider.
they have an algorithm that uses a huge patient database to calculate probable outcomes.
These outcomes are supposed to inform doctors' decisions. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. But investigations have found that this data is less about informing a doctor's decision and more about denying care. In practice, Advantage plans have outsourced.
Yeah, this makes sense. This makes sense because again, it's not about healthcare. It's about what the quarterly profits look, what the line on the graph looks. That's what this is all about.
The pre-authorization and care decisions to companies like Navi Health, who are using an algorithm to overrule treatment plans physicians prescribe for their patients. Individual circumstances don't really matter. The algorithm does. Gary's care team told them what to expect in the next few weeks. Navi Health would deny care without notice. They'd have 24 hours to file an appeal. Then, another outside group called the Quality Improvement Organization would review the appeal.
They told me I would probably win 1 or 2, maybe even 3, but then the speed with which these denials came would increase. They would be fewer and fewer days apart, and eventually I was going to lose.
And that's what happened. Gary was denied care 3 times. His family filed 3 appeals. They won 2. There was no real rationale explained for any of the decisions. He had an option to appeal to an administrative judge. That meant more paperwork and a new level of financial risk.
It's then up to the patient to go back to all their therapists and say, can I have a documentation of every single treatment encounter that we had? It is hundreds of pages of records. About 1,300 pages was my biggest one.
That's just
Since
wild.
the insurer denied the coverage, the family was now responsible for paying for everything out of pocket. They'd be reimbursed if they won, but that could be months, years down the line. And remember, unless they have family, patients have to navigate this process themselves. In Gary Bent's case, it would have been weeks after brain surgery. But if they're able to appeal, at the administrative judge level, the patient wins 75% of the time. That means that in 3 out of 4 cases, the care denials, 24-hour appeals, fighting an algorithm, gathering thousands of pages of documents, it should have never happened. The patients needed the care. And with these skilled care cases, basically none of them would have happened with traditional Medicare.
One of the big issues is we don't know the scope of the problem.
We know 75% of denials are overturned, but so many people never appeal. They rightfully give up. They don't want to fight a faceless bureaucracy set up against them, especially when it's in the last months of their loved one's life.
That's just wild. That shouldn't be a thing. The fact that like we consistently listen to stories like this is a testament to show just how badly the for-profit system has been for healthcare, where you can bold-faced tell patients no, deny them treatment that they need, for the sake of, cutting, for the sake of like, cutting costs and making sure that your profits stay above board, you are sacrificing people's health and lives, to make a buck. Take that in for a second. These companies who have, CEOs and founders and leaders, these companies are literally, their entire business model is to make money, and one of the ways that they do it, and one of the ways that they do it is to make sure that people, real life people, do not get the care that they need by denying them. Yep, that's right. That's what they count on, making it so difficult you just give up with all their resources behind them. Correct. Yes, universal healthcare. That should be a baseline for how we solve this issue. Is anyone in doubt now that capitalism is a shitty system? Well, there are people. There are people that will still somehow find a way to twist themselves into pretzels to justify this stuff. I worked for Mass Health in a cast and crutches SSDI said I was disabled before they did. Wow, and Social Security is disability is really hard to get. So that should tell you something. But I've had SSDI management say I know computers and the internet, so I'm not really disabled. Yeah, like that's messed up. That's messed up. Like, yeah, like the story of the guy who was denied a wheelchair after he had his legs amputated because the doctor, like, yeah, in that video that we went over about prior authorization, the doctor didn't like completely fill it out in the right spot or in the right language or whatever it is. Some BS technicality. Some BS technicality denied this dude a wheelchair. But yeah, good. I'm pretty sure that we're building the case here. That this is not okay. This is not a great system. It doesn't work.
We felt like this process was designed to wear us out, and I would say it did wear us out.
We also don't know how much money insurers make off these advantage denials. But the way the system works, there's a financial incentive for health insurers to deny care. The government pays Medicare Advantage providers a set amount per patient each year. Insurers get to keep a chunk of that savings if they spent less on the care than the government paid. Compared to regular insurance, Advantage patients bring in double the gross profit margin. This is privatization in action.
The EMT who brought him home said that my dad felt like he had a low-grade fever. And I remember staying up through the night to monitor him. But in the very early morning, he was not responsive. He didn't know who we were. He didn't know where he was. And we called 911. What we've learned later was bacterial meningitis. He wasn't even home for 24 hours, maybe like 10 hours.
Gary went back to the hospital.
He was in the hospital for 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a feeling that this story's about to get even worse. Plus, there are companies that have nothing to do with actual healthcare of the person. They're a middleman taking their cut. Exactly.
And he lost all the progress he had made.
Eventually, Gary was released and went home. In spring of 2023, Gary Bent passed away, surrounded by his family.
This whole experience, it really opened my eyes, and I just can't understand how when someone is, in the sunset of their life, that they're having to go through all of this extra burden and hurdles that are unnecessary.
There was enormous...
Well, you see, these companies need their profit margins to continue to rise each and every quarter. So yeah, that's it. That's all there is to it.
The stress in and just having to fight for what he needed at the same time that we were watching his health fail drastically.
Medicare is a social system that was set up to actually provide care for folks. And Medicare Advantage, my understanding of it is that they work to deny your care to make profit. And one thing that has made a lasting impression on me is they're making these decisions and bringing money in hand over fist, and they robbed our family of things that you cannot put a price on. I would say don't sign up for it. It will not be there when you need it.
Yeah. Yep. If you're middle-aged and you get a debilitating injury, or if you're young and you're born with a condition, nobody needs this. Yeah, exactly. No, there is under no circumstance should anybody be needing to go through all this freaking grief just to get something that you need, something that your doctor tells you that you need. It's absurd. It is absurd. The prices of management and the practice are burdensome. Is it any wonder doctors also quit? I mean, yeah. I mean, like that's a whole other a whole other conversation. But yeah, I mean, this is all fundamentally because of a for-profit system. That's it. The richest country on the planet. That's right. The richest country on the planet that apparently has a blank checkbook for, however many wars or whatever. But when it comes to actually providing something so basic, like healthcare, then we just don't have money for that. The budget matters more than the people. Yes, and not just the budget, but corporations matter. These corporations' profits matter more because the politicians protect them. The politicians protect them. These corporations are only doing this because they're allowed to. Things like Medicare Advantage and the way our welfare system is set up only happens because the politicians are more interested in protecting these entities' profits than they are protecting our health. Now, waging endless wars matter more, exactly. Corporations are the best people. All right, let's do a little bit of a funnier funnier story, okay? This isn't really news, folks. This is, this is nonsense. But I think in the middle of all of this, dumpster fire, I think some laughs are needed. Mitt Romney, yeah, corporations are people, exactly. Supreme Court appears skeptical of allowing Trump too small trademark. The Supreme Court today appeared to likely leave in place a decision from the Patent and Trademark Office rejecting a trademark for the phrase Trump too small, a reference to an innuendo about the former president's anatomy made by the 2016 presidential campaign. The justice spent little time during oral arguments considering the specific phrase, which attorney Steve Elster sought to register the mark said is meant to convey a political message about Trump and his policies. Instead, they appeared skeptical of the argument from Elster's attorney that his free speech rights are violated when the government refused to register the mark under a provision of the federal trademark law. Yes. Mitt would know he's definitely a human. Yeah, Trump. It's an attempt to incorporate that phrase to sell merchandise. I'll show you the T-shirt in just a second. The case is known as Vidal versus Elster and arose after Elster, a California attorney, applied to register the words "Trump too small" for use on T-shirts and hats, and with the Patent and Trademark Office in 2018. The phrase refers to the mocking exchange between then candidate Trump and Marco Rubio on the campaign trail in 2016, when Rubio, also a presidential hopeful, jokingly claimed that Trump had disproportionately small hands as an insult to his anatomy, which is hilarious. So here's the T-shirt. Trump's package is too small, small on the environment, small on civil rights, small on immigration rights, small on LGBTQ rights, small on workers' rights, small on voting rights, and small on affordable health care for all. An examining attorney with the Patent and Trademark Office rejected Elster's application to register the mark under a provision of the Lanham Act, which states that a trademark will be refused registration if it consists of the name of a living person without their written consent. Maybe if they didn't use his name, they can maybe trademark something else. They can still sell the merchandise, they just can't prevent others from also selling Gotcha. Okay, yes, you're right. Yes. Gotcha. I mean, like, I still think that they should, they could sell this with if they really wanted to trademark. They don't have to use Trump's specific name. Elster appealed the agency's trademark trial and appeal board, which affirmed the refusal because the mark compromises the name of President Trump without his written consent. When the U.S. Court of Appeals in the Federal Circuit reviewed the board's decision, it reached the opposite conclusion and found that the provision of the Lanham Act was unconstitutional as applied to marks that criticize a government official or public figure. The Patent and Trademark Office appealed it to the Supreme Court, and the justice seemed to be poised to agree with the decision to refuse the registration. But yeah, the Republican Party is also taken. Well, you can use other names. You don't have to reference Trump directly or use Trump's name directly. Some of the justice, namely two appointed by Trump, pointed to the nation's history of restrictions on what can be trademarked, such as geography, descriptions, or the names of living people. At the end of the day, it's pretty hard to argue that a tradition that has been around a long time since the founding, common law type stuff, is inconsistent with the First Amendment. Gorge said that the trademark is a monopoly. A trademark is a monopoly is what it is. It's a state-granted patent, old-fashioned patent monopoly. And some things you're just not allowed to monopolize. And Justice Brett Kavanaugh echoed that history here would suggest something like this is appropriate. Chief Justice Roberts raised a suggestion that if Elster was able to register his mark, it would keep others from engaging in similar display of political expression, since they could face consequences for infringing on the trademark. Presumably, there'll be a race to trademark Trump to this, Trump to that, whatever, and particularly in an area of political expression that really cuts off a lot of expression a lot of other people might regard as important infringement on their First Amendment rights. Jonathan Taylor, who argued on behalf of Elster, acknowledged that his client can sell t-shirts with the phrase "Trump too small." They're available for only $30, even though his trademark application was refused. The question is this an infringement on speech? The answer is no. He can sell as many t-shirts with the saying, and the government's not telling him he can't use that phrase. He can sell it anyway. He can sell, well, I guess, they mean he can sell it anywhere he wants. There's no limitation on selling it, so there's no traditional infringement. Yeah, Trump, there you go. There wouldn't be much value in trademarking it without his name. I remember when Paris Hilton tried to trademark "That's Hot," it was rejected. Yeah, because it's way too broad, I guess, or way too vague. I'm just guessing. No, because that's his name. No, that's his name, Donald. So you can't do that. The dispute follows other cases in which the Supreme Court struck down the other provisions of the Lanham Act, the federal trademark statute, as violation of the First Amendment. In 2017, the court invalidated a section of that barred registration of a disparaging mark, and in 2019, it did the same for a provision prohibiting immoral or scandalous marks. Yeah, because I don't know what that is. By requiring consent, the clause hands public figures what is akin to a heckler's veto, by allowing them to control the message conveyed about them on a registered trademark. Elster noted that the provision effectively precludes registration of any marks that criticize public figures, while allowing them to register marks about themselves that promote positive messages. While Hillary for America was approved, for example, registration of Hillary for prison was was refused by examining attorney for lacking written consent. Right, which I think didn't Alex Jones didn't Alex Jones have like Hillary for prison t-shirts? Yeah, just put 45. There you go. Everyone knows what that means. While celebrity fan bases can register celebrity adoring names as trademarks like Swifties, Arnie's Army, and Bayhive. What? Groups opposing presidential candidates have had their requests denied under that clause, like Never Trumpers. Elster's lawyer wrote in a brief that's the opposite of the First Amendment command. A decision by the Supreme Court is expected by the end of June, I guess next year. The administration warned that using an individual's name for commercial purposes without their approval risks confusion about the source of the product and has been viewed as a form of commercial appropriation by the government that the government may not want to reward. I don't know. I just found this very funny. This is the thing that's being this is the thing that's currently being debated in the Supreme Court. But, you know. That being said, if you go over to my merch store, no, I'm kidding. Shifting gears really quickly, Portland public schools strike closes the schools today. Portland public school teachers have spurned a last-ditch offer from the district and launched a strike that has shuttered all 81 schools. The strike, the first in the district history, comes after 10 months stalemate, during which district and union leaders were unable to agree on even basic budget realities. How long the strike might last is unknown, though sources have pegged the likely duration as 3 days to 2 weeks. Teachers will lose their health insurance for December if they don't return to work by mid-November. There's a yawning gap of at least $200 million between what teachers are seeking and what the districts say it can afford without having to make deep and painful cuts in the years ahead, whether through layoffs, fewer instructional days, closed schools, or a combination of the three. The two sides will not meet again to negotiate until Friday, which means the schools will close Thursday too. Friday was already a day off for students and has been scheduled as a teacher professional development day. Union leaders say that teachers need large raises to keep up with the pace of inflation. That's true. I mean, teacher salaries are abysmal. Teacher salaries are abysmal, to say the least. And to keep up with like the cost of living now, yeah, they absolutely need a decent raise, to keep up, with the cost of living. Class sizes limits to allow them to meet students' academic and emotional needs in the wake of the pandemic, and more planning time to adjust instruction to wildly varying achievement levels. I mean, this isn't that controversial. Any contract would have to pass muster not only with the majority of the union's roughly 3,500 teachers, but also with the school board, whose members have said they are determined to not to drive the district into deep financial deficit. The district has offered a cost of living adjustment that would boost teacher salaries by nearly 11% over the next 3 years, plus 3,000 bonuses for the first-year teachers and special education teachers. That represents a modest gain from the district's original offer of 7.5% cost of living raise over 3 years, but it's still only about half of what the union is seeking. And on Tuesday, the district officials offered an extra 40 minutes per week of planning time for elementary and school educators, up from the current 320 in the current contract, and about 400 and the 400 minutes that they previously put on the table. One of the people in my book group is participating in the PBS strike. Nice. Union negotiators did not offer a counter proposal on Tuesday, and said Jonathan Garcia, the chief staff of Portland Superintendent Guadalupe Guerrero. The district's latest offer will require programmatic cuts to the current budget. Renard Adams, the district directors of research, accountability, and assessment, said Tuesday during a press conference outside Markham Elementary School in Southwest Portland. What those cuts would entail isn't clear yet, but they would include a hiring freeze for central office employees and reductions in outside contracts and purchasing. We have already offered a cost of living increase that is more than our increase in revenue. We know that the union's bargaining team believes it's insufficient, but we cannot responsibly accept their proposed 23% increase. Both the class size limits and the union's planning proposal will create mandatory staffing levels requiring us to hire over 500 new teachers when we have declining enrollment. Angelina Bonilla, the president of the Portland Association of Teachers, did not immediately respond to texts for seeking comment, but a group of Markham teachers came to listen to Adams' remarks on Tuesday. Afterwards, second grade teacher Grace Kroom, who is a member of the district's Community Budget Review Committee, said she believes there's more money available for union priorities. Why is more money not going directly to school to serve students, she asked, knowing that the central office staffing has increased amid an enrollment decline. District negotiators have said that many of those central office employees work in multiple schools, including campus safety team members, dyslexia support specialists, and restorative justice coordinators. Governor Tina Kotek this week called for the two sides to remain at the bargaining table and continue to negotiate instead of striking. The governor was in active conversation Tuesday with Guerrero. Garcia, his chief of staff, said. Kotek also spoke with Bonilla and sent her legislative director Bob Livingston to help mediate between the two sides at the Tigard headquarters of the Oregon Education Association. She's pushing for an agreement that delivers a fair contract for educators, prioritizes dollars in the classroom, and keeps students in school. said her spokesperson Elizabeth Shepard. Picket lines and rallies will break out at most Portland schools campuses starting early on Wednesday today. Other school districts around the state, including Salem, Hillsborough, and Medford, are also close to an impasse with their own teachers' unions. Key budget lawmakers were circumspect Tuesday about a bailout for Portland public schools and have noted that the schools received a record $10.2 billion this biennium. School advocates, however, said that this was at least $100 million short of what schools statewide need to keep offering current programs. The strike in Portland is closely being watched nationally. Becky Pringle, president of the National Education Association, flew Tuesday and intends to join the teachers on the picket line on Wednesday. Her arrival was first reported by William at Week. Portland is the latest in groups of progressively leading, West Coast cities to undergo a teacher strike in recent years, joining Oakland, Seattle, and Los Angeles, 3 cities in which teachers have won huge concessions in recent years. Heat with the 7 biddies. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Again, they caused their own problem by not raising teacher salaries incrementally to follow inflation. Yep. We do fund our schools though, hence high property taxes. Yeah, but I don't think that's a good way of ensuring school funding, because that varies, and that doesn't mean all the schools get the resources that they need. So it's kind of a really weird way of attempting to fund schools. I guess maybe in people's heads it might have made sense for a second, but when actually put in practice, it's not good. No, it's not very equitable at all. Not very equitable at all. Besides, who actually owns a house anymore? The investment companies. Those concessions have come with some consequences. For example, in Seattle, teachers won cost of living adjustments of 14% over the 3 years and other priorities, but the district is now facing $100 million budget gap and is readying plans to close a number of schools. The landlord, yep. Like major urban districts nationwide, Portland Public Schools is contending with enrollment declines driven by low birth rates and high housing prices. Its enrollment decline was exacerbated by the prolonged pandemic closures, which spurred some families to homeschool or send their children to private school. Exactly, who dodged taxes. Well, I don't know if you can dodge property taxes. I don't know if you can dodge property taxes. Oh, yeah, that's true. You can massage property value for tax purposes. As we see, the current current trial that's happening. Yeah, that's true. On YouTube, Forbes Breaking News has 40 new videos on Trump and the GOP today. 40 new videos? Jesus. Houses aren't houses anymore. They're investment assets. If you bundle properties together, you can most certainly avoid taxes. Well, that speaks to my ignorance. House GOP Israel aid adds $26 billion to the deficit. Yep. Which you will recall that the Republican Party supposedly cares very much about the deficit, right? The House Republican bill to provide aid to Israel will add $26.8 billion to the U.S. budget deficit, according to a new report by the nonpartisan CBO. The bill, championed by the new Speaker, Mike Johnson. Remember, the party of fiscal responsibility, and how at every opportunity would talk about how the Democrats consistently drive up the budget, and the deficit is they drive up the deficit, and it's so important. The deficit, the famous political football. All of a sudden, I guess that's out the window, because now these Republicans are willing to increase that by $26.8 billion. The bill, championed by new Speaker Mike Johnson, pairs $14.3 billion in aid to Israel with $14.3 billion to cuts in IRS funding that was enacted under the Inflation Reduction Act, the Biden administration initiative passed by Democrats last year, which absolutely makes no sense, because like the government runs on funding that is generated by taxes. So how are you going to explain defunding the very mechanism by which the government gets money, as well as justifying carte blanche just giving out $14.3 billion to Israel? But the CBO found that the IRS cuts coupled with Israel aid would lead to $26.8 billion decline in revenue, contradicting the stated goal of offsetting that aid. The CBO and the Treasury Department have said that the funds, if left intact, would lead to tougher IRS enforcement and collection of more tax revenues. The bill is headed for consideration in the Rules and Committee on Wednesday today, with a full House expected this week. Johnson has presented this measure as a challenge for Democrats to choose between help for Israel and an expanded IRS, which, again, it makes no sense to cut the very mechanism by which the government generates money, while simultaneously just giving $14 billion to Israel. Johnson said Wednesday that he was not surprised at all by the CBO score that showed that the legislation was adding billions to the deficit. Only in Washington, by the way, this is a nonpartisan, governmental, the Congressional Budget Office is a nonpartisan committee. Only in Washington, when you cut spending, do they call it an increase in deficit. Well, my brother in Christ, dude, if one of the things that you're cutting is the apparatus that generates revenue for the government, what are you talking about? The CBO score led to fresh criticism from Democrats, extraordinarily cynical for Republicans to try to exploit an international crisis to help wealthy tax states avoid paying their taxes. But also, in this help, in this aid to Israel, it is also to be noted that there's absolutely no strings attached to this. So here's the real question: why aren't we getting more calls for whatever aid that we send to have some fucking conditions like not killing civilians, okay? It is, again, the bare minimum of our responsibility to, at the very least, that because it's within our capacity, it is therefore our responsibility to say, hey, listen, this is unacceptable. The way that you are handling this is unacceptable, and the amount of civilian casualties is unacceptable. The humanitarian crisis that you are creating is unacceptable. Everywhere else around the world, governments seem to have recognized this. Heard an interview with an American Palestinian doctor trapped in Gaza. They are getting 1 gallon of water a day for 40 people. So for context, it should be 1 gallon a day per person, minimum per day. To illustrate the dire, severity of the situation. Most of Europe, much of Europe is completely behind Israel. That's true. I guess maybe that's a little hopium watching what some of the some of the Latin American countries have said, and what the UN has also said. But yeah, that's true. It's not unacceptable enough. Yeah, but like, at what point? Like, what is the line that particularly the U.S. Needs to take? What is the line here? Is not what thousands? Is not thousands of civilians dead not enough? How many are going to die not because of bombs, but because they're not getting the fuel that they need for the hospitals, and they're not getting the fuel that they need for the ambulances? How many people are going to die because of that? Which, that is a direct result of what Israel is doing. There's no doubt about that. The way this is being handled is disastrous. The situation in Gaza is dire, to say the least. Bolivia and Jordan pulled their ambassadors. Yep. I believe another country did too. Not just Bolivia. I can't remember. It just happened yesterday, I think, or very recently, I should say. 40 people to a gallon. Yeah, that's abysmal. Wouldn't it be great if Hamas just surrendered? Like, I honestly, like, it would just be better if Israel did the right thing. If Israel did the right thing and provided and allowed humanitarian aid to come at the amount that is needed, and it would be, it'd be also great if they just stopped bombing civilians. That would be great too. I'm just saying, that it would be great if Israel would stop bombing civilians to the tune of what now, thousands. At this point, I think we can say with confidence that we're approaching like the 10,000 mark of dead civilians. Yemen declared war on Israel? Jesus. The situation is that's not good. That's gonna get this whole thing is spiraling out of control as if it wasn't already. I can safely say both sides should surrender their ideals. What ideals? Like, do you think that like bombing civilians is like what ideal are you surrendering? Any ideals that lead to people's death, like bombing civilians, that's on Israel. the blockade that is literally leading to the death and starvation and sickness and disease of the people there, that's only being done by one side. Yes, Israel and Hamas have killed people, but both of them should surrender their ideals. What are you talking about? Here's the question. Really quickly. Do you agree? Because currently apparently Yemen hasn't declared war, but Houthi rebels have launched missiles at Israel. Gotcha. I mean, like, but all these all these groups are not allies per se, but they're all like loosely aligned ish, more or less. Anyways, the point being is that, do you think that the what's happening now is okay? Do you think that the way the Israeli government is currently acting in this way, do you think that that's okay? And by the way, this isn't to dismiss the fact that this isn't new. This isn't new, but I'm just speaking on what we're watching unfold right now. Of course, this is the accumulation of all a lot of years worth of policy, but the point being is that, do you think that this is okay, what's happening? Francesca had a great interview with Naomi Klein yesterday on the Habituation Room on this topic. Definitely there's this current news. According to the AP fact check, for whatever that's worth. I mean, there have been missiles for the past, weeks or whatever, being fired from the Houthi rebels. Israeli government and the IDF should surrender. I don't think they will. I mean, like, listen, if they can just like stop, I mean, if we can just get a stop to the bombings and get humanitarian aid in the meaningful and orderly way and faster way, that would be a start. But yeah, when you've got the type of rhetoric coming out of what Netanyahu's been saying, like, I wouldn't hold my breath. I'm gonna be honest. The situation's pretty dire. The same kind of same kind of rhetoric in previous historical genocides. Yeah, I mean, like, if you just go on the Twitter account, the Prime Minister Twitter account, that's some scary stuff. That's some scary stuff happening there. That's some scary stuff that's happening, and like all of this, like, has a religious fundamentalist aspect to it, which it's not great. When you have this type of facet, it's not good. it exacerbates the issue. The Israeli military has deployed missile boats in the Red Sea as reinforcement, following missiles and drone attacks from the aligned Houthi movements. The Houthi movement has targeted Israel multiple times during the Hamas-Israel war, and they have vowed to continue these attacks to support the Palestinians. AI compilation of 29 news articles. Gotcha. Gotcha. And the thing is, like, just like we went over this story about the Palestinian kid who was brutally murdered, by his landlord for being Palestinian or Muslim. Biden told Iran, he didn't say anything about Yemen. That's true. So just as how we've been reading stories like that about the Sikh person was assaulted because, these bigots thought he was Muslim or something. There is a rise in anti-Semitism that's being driven because of this. Yeah, he was 6. Yeah, a real threat. True. And it's not, it's not for nothing. And all of this cycle, all of this perpetuates the cycle. And this is not good. This is not great. Not good. A Cornell University student, has been accused of posting online threats to kill members of the university's Jewish community, appeared in federal court and was ordered to remain behind bars for the time being. Domestic terrorist was arrested on Tuesday and charged with federally posing threats to kill or injure another using interstate communications. The U.S. Attorney's Office for New York's Northern District announced the charge is punishable by up to 5 years in prison. Domestic terrorist appeared in a Syracuse courtroom wearing an orange jail outfit with his wrist shackled. He did not enter a plea. He responded, "Yes, Your Honor," several times after being asked questions by the judge. He remained straight-faced throughout the hearing, which lasted about 10 minutes, and his mother sat in the second row. And, like, again, this whole cycle was being perpetuated. That was from the Center-Aligned Bot collecting common info from 29 different news sources. Yeah, Ground News is pretty good. Ground News is pretty good. I think it's an app nowadays. I don't know. There was another one that I used to use, but it got shut down. I think it went out of business. Nah, I can't find the app. Flipboard is not too bad. For some reason, I thought it was an app. Yeah, crazy times indeed. Prosecutors say published posted an online discussion forum in which he threatened to kill and injure Cornell's Jewish students and shoot up the university's predominantly kosher dining hall, 104 West. In one post, he wrote that he would bring an assault rifle to campus and shoot Jewish people, according to the attorney's office. And again, the point of this is to reiterate just how bad the situation is, and how in my opinion, this whole cycle of violence is going to continue. This domestic terrorist admitted to posting the threatening messages in an interview with the FBI at Cornell Police Department after receiving Miranda warnings. In an interview with the New York Post, parents said that he had severe depression, dating to 2021 and had no history of violence. The father, asked his name not to be used, told the Post in a text exchange that he stopped communicating with his parents the day before his arrest. Around the time these anti-Semitic threats were being made on an online message board, he said his wife drove to Ithaca to see her son, but he had already been arrested. This goes to show how effective 24/7 propaganda is on people with no resistance to it. Yeah, and the thing is, like, you hear this 24/7 too on social media. And like, if there was ever an opportunity for like a lot of these like reactionary people to show their faces, is in these exact situations, and you're seeing it. It's not too risky to bet to make. ADT just hates so much trying to raise a kid in this country, as you know. Yeah, I totally get that. After these threats were posted, Cornell Police University police ramped up patrols and increased security for Jewish students and organizations. The New York State Police has increased its security presence on campuses, said Governor Kathy Hochul. At Cornell, Jewish students make up about 22% of the student body, with about 3,000 undergraduate and 500 graduate Jewish students, according to the school's Hillel organization. As awareness of the threat online post spread on Sunday evening, Cornell Hillel warned students and staff to avoid the 104 West out of an abundance of caution. The threat stoked fear and anxiety through Cornell's Jewish community, which has already been feeling uneasy after several campus sidewalks were vandalized with anti-Israel or anti-Jewish. Last week, according to the university student-run newspaper, the Cornell Review. Jewish students on campus feel unbelievably terrified for their lives. I never would have expected this to happen on my university campus. October 7th was also horrible. Yes, I don't think anyone's going to dispute that. My question wasn't about October 7th. Yes, October 7th was horrible. But any unreasonable, innocent loss of life is bad, right? Yeah, but Israel has a responsibility in this case to not do that, okay? So just to be clear, like, bombing and incidentally with the knowledge of incidentally killing civilians without any like serious legitimate strategic purpose is a war crime. And this is not me saying it. This is the UN. This is the Geneva Convention. I'm sorry. Intentionally launching an attack in the knowledge that such attack will cause incidental loss of life and injury to civilians or damage to civilian objects, or widespread long-term and severe damage to the natural environment, which would be clearly excessive in relation to the concrete and direct overall military advantage anticipated. I mean, like, this has been going on. Again, not to discount that this has been going on way before this whole thing started. But responding to the atrocities in October 7th with greater atrocities, especially when you have the responsibility, is not okay. Yes, there should be at least 3 semesters of propaganda awareness in high school and junior high. Yeah. I mean, even just one media literacy course in school would be a monumental step forward, since since we don't even have any of that whatsoever. In Trump video, Trump says that college and universities are turning everyone to communists. True. True. Everyone who goes into university and colleges, boom, instant communist. That's how this works. Because Trump loves the uneducated, exactly. Rough times, folks. Rough times. All right, folks, I gotta get going. It is just under 7 o'clock, so I changed the theme on my Discord, and I love it. Nitro stuff. Nice. Nice. Gotta take a look at that. Make some changes myself. Folks, if you enjoy the content and you want to support the channel, make sure you hit the follow button. I do appreciate all the biddies, all the follows, all the subscriptions. Thank you guys. You guys are what makes this channel grow. If you want to go and support the channel but cannot do so monetarily, head on over to the YouTube channel, to the wonderful folks in YouTube who have joined us. Thank you for liking the stream. I appreciate it. Yeah, hit the big red subscribe button, spread the word far and wide. We're here Monday to Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Yes, join the Discord so you get any updates. I changed my theme and I love it. It's included with Nitro. I think I have this I think I have Nitro. Pretty sure I do. Thank you, Michael Hasser. Thank you, Heat, for moderating the chat. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for hanging out. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. We all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern time. See ya. All right, folks, hang tight. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.